deck the halls with boughs of holly and lots of exciting news for the Clemson Tigers. New coaches on staff, new big-time commitments to Dabo Swinney and the football program. Oh, and to top it off, we have a bowl destination and we have an opponent. So it's that most wonderful time of the year where there's so much going on with Clemson football right now. And right now, all of it is all a big train of positivity just rolling down the tracks and picking up steam. And we're going to talk about it all in this episode of Around the Paul. So welcome in. Glad to have everybody watching. I'm Garrett Mitchell. And as always, Griffin Barfield and Clifton Kennedy. And guys, what a week it has been since our last episode. It has just been a cacophony of good news for the Clemson football program, or a cornucopia of goodies might be a better way of saying it. And let's start with Dabo Swinney, the Dabo Swinney that everybody said was washed up. He only hires his guys, nepotism at its finest. He's only promoting his friends and buddies. I'm pretty certain you can toss that narrative out the window.
Yeah, he's coming out. He's coming out for a vengeance, right? Kind of taking all the receipts of all the haters. But yeah, I think it's probably the ideal start to the whole offseason that Clemson has been going through. You pick up two incredible coaching hires, at least in my opinion, with Matt Luke on the offensive lineman side, and Chris Rumph coming in for the defensive ends coach. And honestly, I think both of those are great hires. Both provide not only NFL experience on Rumph's side, but Matt Luke, coach of Ole Miss. He's been the offensive line coach, very good in the trenches. And honestly, I wasn't really a fan of Thomas Austin going into the season. Seeing how the offensive line developed, I hope that through these guys and through their experience, they are able to develop both of these lines to help the trenches kind of just gel in an incredible extent. So yeah, I think this is perfect if you're a Clemson fan. You're just deepening the trenches. You're developing them with a great coach, and you can't be upset with that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, these two coaches are by far 1,000 times, million times better than what we had, I think. And as far as experience, and it's gonna be a great offseason. But I think it's gonna be a great rest of the season with the Bulls too. And I'm not sure, are they gonna come on and coach in the bowl game, or do y'all know that yet?
I have not heard that, or I have not heard one way or the other. But I was going to say that either way, whether they kick things off and are coaching in the bowl game, or whether it's they begin their tenures at Clemson after the bowl game, either way, Matt Luke and Chris Rumph, they are getting paid handsomely. And if you've looked at the numbers, the Clemson Board of Trustees voted on the compensation packages this morning. And Coach Luke is getting paid $975,000 his first year of a 3-year contract. That ups to $1.1 million in 2025 and $1.2 million in 2026. And Chris Rumph, on the other end, he's starting at $950,000 in 2024. And in the subsequent 2 years to follow, that is going up to a cool $1 million. And then in 2026, $1.1 million. And so when you compare salaries of other defensive end coaches across college football, other offensive line coaches, that puts them in the top 4 or 5. So Dabo Swinney has not only gone out and gotten two of the best coaches at their respective position groups, he is making sure that they are going to be paid handsomely.
I think they deserve it too. I'm been big. I know that the whole rumors this whole week, ever since Austin and Coach Ski have been fired, but they deserve it fully. They got the experience. They have all of the evidence to back it up. And I'm really excited for Chris Rumph, especially because, you have all of these defensive ends that have gone through Clemson. And perhaps, in previous years with Coach Lemansky Hall, there wasn't really much development. That has kind of been a topic brought up. So I'm excited to see what Rumph brings to the table in terms like guys on the younger side. TJ Parker comes out to me instantly. I think a guy like AJ Hoffler too could benefit incredibly from this. And it just comes to show, I think the underclassmen are going to shine under this, not only on the defensive side, but I think on the offensive line too, that you're going to start seeing maybe even a few recruits maybe turn their heads because, hey, Matt Luke, offensive line coach at Clemson, he's got the experience. He's getting paid for a reason. Why not go play for him and Coach Swinney and Coach Riley on the offensive side? So I think it's going to attract recruits. It's going to attract the future. So by all means, you deserve to pay them.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but hasn't Rumph coached at Clemson before?
He has.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. That's what I thought.
Was 2006 to 2010. And, let's back up a minute. He is a native, South Carolina native. He's from St. Matthews. And he began his coaching career coaching Calhoun County High School from 1997 to 2001. That's his alma mater, the Calhoun County Saints. Now, if anybody in South Carolina is familiar with them, if the name Alshon Jeffery rings a bell, the stud wide receiver that played for South Carolina in the late 2000s, early 2010s, well, he is from the same town and the same high school that Chris Rumph is. And furthermore, Coach Rumph was a Gamecock. He played at South Carolina. He was a linebacker there, and he began his coaching career as a graduate assistant or college coaching career as a graduate assistant for South Carolina. And so, look, I can already see the little lights going off behind my eyes, how the Clemson Grinch stole Christmas from the South Carolina Gamecocks was more than just last Saturday night. Look, we're taking their alumni and one of the best coaches out there. So if they thought it was going to get better, nah.
I mean, as well, Wednesday night, Clemson, South Carolina men's basketball, both undefeated, both in considerations top 25. Clemson number 24, South Carolina received some votes too. So huge chance if Clemson area, come to Little John Coliseum. I forget when tip off is, but
8 p.m.
8 p.m. A chance to knock off the South Carolina Gamecocks, give them their first loss of the season in your own backyard. Why not? I mean, I had to bring it up because it's pretty relevant, but I think it's cool that you bring someone in from your rival, and I'm excited to see what he can do for sure.
Yeah, it's time. It's time to take over the state once and for all. And I know for the last year they've beat us in every sport except softball. I heard somebody say that. So
men's soccer
it's
too.
time. Yeah, men's soccer too.
Yeah,
and so it's time to start taking the state over, the whole state. So yeah, bring them on in basketball. But let's get back to coaching.
Well, Coach Rumph was not the only thing that Clemson stole from the Gamecocks, but we'll get to that later. It's equal opportunity thievery right now as Dabo Swinney is coming in off the top rope, and he's just looking to suplex any and everybody right now, and you got to love it. Absolutely have to love it. And in that vein, big week for coaching hires at Clemson. Well, it was also a big week on the recruiting front. So Coach Rumph, former Gamecock, he was a Clemson Tiger before he's a Clemson Tiger again. Sorry, South Carolina. Well, not all that sorry about the young man that committed to Clemson in the class of 2025 on Sunday. And that is Amari Adams, the number one recruit in the state of South Carolina for the 25 recruiting class. He is ranked as high as a top 65 recruit nationally. Consensus 4-star defensive tackle, 6 feet 6 inches tall, 290 pounds. Coming off an appearance in the state championship game on Saturday, and he commits to Clemson on Sunday. Now, Griffin, what is really remarkable about Amari Adams' recruitment is that 72 hours before he committed to Clemson, he was 100% crystal balled to South Carolina. And 24 hours later, he had 100% projections to Clemson. Something changed in a 24-hour period, but my gut feeling is that it wasn't just the South Carolina wide receivers who were dropping balls last Saturday night.
I agree with that. I think there has been so much good things going on at Clemson. I think the coaching hires could have played an example despite, Amari Adams will be playing under Coach Nick Eason, but he's produced gems as well. I mean, you're looking at one right now with Peter Woods. I mean, take a look, Brian Brzee, Baruch Aroro, and Tyler Davis as well. I mean, you could just fit right in that class of players like that. So I think it's a huge get for Clemson. He, I think, is like the top 11th or 12th defensive tackle in the whole class. So it's a huge get for Clemson. It's a huge get in order to kind of you could banter against a South Carolina fan perfectly, as you know, he was projected there. A day later, he's projected to Clemson. He eventually commits with the Tigers. So I think it's just great trash talk as well. It's just been a great time to be a Clemson Tiger. I think that's the best thing that you can say about that. And yeah, I think there were a couple things that helped influence his decision for sure.
Yeah, anytime you can get a player that was committed to Carolina and flip him to Clemson, then it's always a great day. That's the way I see it. So.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Look, Amari Adams is a huge get. And I tell you what, look, I'm not going to sit here and lie and say I don't revel in Gamecock misery, because I do. And I went and read their message boards on Sunday night after Amari Adams committed to Clemson. And when I tell you, it was like marshmallows over an open campfire. It was a complete and utter meltdown.
Same thing with what's his face, Juice Wells. Same thing.
Yes.
Oh wow!
Same thing.
They're killing me on Twitter, man. They're killing me on Twitter.
He had to turn off his comments, but I mean, he did say he was 100% committed to South Carolina and then entered the transfer portal. So, I mean, there is argument for that, but to say they're in shambles might be a little bit of an extent, because there has just been so much going on with Carolina and what they look like next year for football. But you know, I'm going to focus on my team. I'm going to focus on Clemson and what they're bringing to the table. And as long as they're doing good things, they're always going to, you know, have the upper edge against a team like South Carolina, their rival.
Yeah. One thing I will say about South Carolina is they don't have a running back, or they don't have a quarterback. And that is, unless they can get something through the transfer portal, that's going to be crazy.
I think they got a freshman. I think Carolina got like a freshman, or I think his name's Lamont Sellers. I think that's his name.
No, he went in the transfer portal.
You know, let me back that up. There was actually strong speculation that he also was going in the transfer portal.
Really?
He was projected to be their starter next year, but I believe some of that was maybe some false information leaking out. Nothing has been official in that regard, but I will say this: Lenoris Sellers played for the same
at
South Florence High School that Amari Adams plays for. Now, they were not high school teammates. Lenoris Sellers actually won the state championship a year ago with South Florence. Adams was not a member of that team. He transferred in from the smaller Lake City High School. And so this was his first year there. So they did not overlap, but they do share a common high school now. And a lot of people felt that was going to play into Adams' recruitment. Two South Florence alums would be playing together at South Carolina. And obviously, you know, Adams must not have put too much stock in that, because he went a different way, and lucky for us.
Yeah, lucky for us.
I agree, yeah.
And guys, that wasn't the only big recruiting windfall to take place over the weekend. On the same day, really even before Amari Adams' announcement, and this came about mid to late afternoon on Sunday, Clemson picked up another commitment, this time from a prospect who flipped. Watson Young, depending on the recruiting sites you look at, he's either a 3-star or 4-star, but he's an offensive lineman from Daniel High School, who, by the way, are coming off their 4th state championship in 5 years, which they won on Saturday in thrilling fashion. Coach Frooster at Daniel's got a bit of a dynasty there, and he's also feeding Clemson a pipeline of players, the likes of Myson Kelly and Trent Pierman and all those guys. Of course, people remember Newt Hopkins, too, went to Daniel High School back in the day. But so Watson Young, an all-state offensive lineman, 3-star recruit, was committed to Appalachian State, and word began to matriculate out toward the end of last week that he was going to flip to Clemson, and indeed that turned out to be the case. He made that announcement on Sunday, and this is one of these players, and I speak from having seen this young man play in person on 2 different occasions. He's rated as a 3-star, but when you talk about diamonds in the rough, Watson Young could be exactly that. This is a young man. Expect big things from him, and particularly under the tutelage of Matt Luke. Watson Young's a big get.
I think the addition of Luke is so important too, and I think that he'll develop him to the best of his ability. And all these guys, especially if they're from Daniel High School or they're from anywhere in South Carolina, they'll play their heart out and they'll play for the paw. And that's the most important thing. I mean, you see guys like Tyler Brown do that, and look how he's doing. He was only a 3-star. So I agree with that. And there hasn't been much going on with this recruiting class in terms of offensive line. The only offensive lineman you had before Watson Young was Ronan O'Connell in the summer. And there hasn't really been much escalating till that. So, seeing a guy like Watson Young potentially making snaps early on could be something that Clemson fans can see depending on, who stays, who goes to the draft. It all depends on eligibility. But, like you said, Garrett, I think this is a diamond in the rough for Clemson for sure. You got a guy who wants to play his heart out for this team. And, as soon as he'll start getting snaps out there, he'll do exactly that.
Yeah, so since you were talking about the NFL draft or the NFL in general, I don't know where you were going with this, Garrett, but let's talk about people who are leaving for NFL draft or transfer portal, because we've had a lot of guys this week and the end of last week, I think, right?
Right. Yeah, you sure have. And some of the more recent names to say that they're leaving Clemson. Matter of fact, the latest was actually this afternoon, and that was Ruka Rororo. And, God bless that kid. I've loved watching him play in a Clemson uniform. He played 5 years for Clemson, and he gave everything he's got for 5 years. And as he put it, it's time for me to chase a dream I've had since I was just a young kid, and that's to play in the NFL. That's to play professionally. And I tell you what, man, I wish him all the best. Ruka Rororo has been the true epitome of a Clemson Tiger. And then you had Nate Wiggins just a few days ago. And look, that was expected. Nate Wiggins is projected as a first-round draft pick on a lot of draft boards, including by Mel Kiper. And look, he's going to go make a lot of money. His game against North Carolina ensured that he is going to make a lot of money. And so those are but two. Dominique Thomas, another player, running back Dominique Thomas, Quadzilla, entered his name into the transfer portal today, so he'll be departing Clemson. So there's some attrition there, and there's some other guys. Toriano Pride was one a few days ago as well. And I think it's all for different circumstances and for different reasons. And, guys, when I look at Toriano Pride, great player, but the simple fact of the matter is he was passed on the depth chart in lightning quick fashion by 4 true freshmen. And 4 true freshmen who I think are going to form probably a dynastic defensive backfield for the next 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, I agree with that. And obviously Toriano Pride played a good amount of snaps this season before, the whole freshman takeover that, we've been manifesting since the summer. And even so, you got guys, Corey and Gibson, Ricardo Jones, they're coming in, they're joining the secondary, and they are raw talents. And they could even, make the steps that guys like A.V. Terrell, Shelton Lewis, Khalil Barnes made. So, I mean, I get the decision fully. And, as always, if, a player on Clemson enters the transfer portal, I want to wish nothing but the best for them. And, you got to cherish the moments that they have as a Tiger. But obviously, the grass might be greener on the other side. And obviously, I won't hate them for, making that decision for sure. So I wish them the best of luck.
Yeah, for sure. He started a lot last year, and it did surprise me that 4 freshmen passed him. That was a very surprising to me, and but I wish him all the luck because he'll start somewhere else. I mean, he will. I mean, he's really good. He just there's 4 freshmen coming in that are better.
Number 4, number 6 cornerback in his recruiting cycle.
Yeah. So, hey, I have a funny story about Dominique Thomas. I was sitting in the press box with Lawton Swan was sitting next to me. And I was sitting there, and I couldn't remember the nickname for Dominique Thomas. So you know what I called him? Call him Thunder Thighs. I was like, oh
Fair
my
enough.
God. I
That-
was like,
That is
Oh,
a lump
God.
of coal and a
And-
bag of switches for you this Christmas.
yeah, I know, man. And Lawton Swan just cracked up, man. He still says that. The last time I saw him at South Carolina game, he said something. He was like, "Good old Thunder Thighs." So that's a funny story, but about I couldn't remember his nickname. But all right, let's move forward.
Yeah, and look, another player that's entered the transfer portal. Compose yourselves.
Yeah.
Focus.
Oh my gosh.
Focus.
I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm locked in.
Let's go.
I'm ready for
Let's
the next
go.
thing.
Yeah, let's
So
go.
another player that's entered the transfer portal, tight end Sage Ennis. And, I want to sit here and say I was a little bit more surprised by him entering the portal, but it does look like, by all accounts, Jake Brenningstool, who has been tight end one all year, will be back at Clemson next year. And then you've had the emergence of Sapp later in the season, and Sapp was really playing well. And so, again, it's with Ennis, he's already got his degree from Clemson. He's given all that he has to this university. So go be great for another year. And I think Clemson's tight end room will be in good hands with Brenningstool and Sapp next year. And then you've got some talent at the position coming in as well.
Yeah, I think Sage made the right decision. Obviously, it sucks, and he made some good plays in the latter half of the season. I believe it was Notre Dame he did have a couple catches here and there that helped Clemson, score field goals. He's a big blocking tight end, I know. But I think he made the right decision. Obviously, Jake Brenningstool coming back for his senior year, at least to what we know. It's the transfer portal. Who knows what's going to happen? Josh Sapp looks great as a freshman. He made some key catches. I think he had a touchdown or two this season. So, once again, nothing but the best. He's got some good stuff. So, any team that gets him will have a great tight end who not only can block the run, but he can make some key catches in some key moments.
And he's a pretty big guy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he's big. He can block and he can catch. He can do he's all three. I mean, so you got, what is that, triple threat with him? I mean, whoever gets him is going to be going to have him a good tight end that can do everything. So,
Absolutely. Now, guys, the transfer portal taketh, but the transfer portal can also giveth. And again, we go back to narratives, and the narrative about Dabo Swinney is he doesn't believe in the transfer portal. He'll never use it. Well, there's that might be close to getting put to bed too, because we already know of one player in the transfer portal, an offensive lineman that was playing on the Division II level, but by all accounts, people seem to be very, very high on it. And other Power 5 schools other than Clemson want this kid. Has already been offered by Clemson. And I've even heard some speculation. Now, consider it water cooler chatter if you want to, but there's been some speculation that some big-time names that are about to be in the transfer portal might be getting Clemson offers. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how Dabo approaches this. And I'm going to throw a name out here at you. This is just kind of fun to sit here and speculate and think about what maybe, hopefully, could be. We still don't know what Will Shipley's going to do after this year. Will he transfer? Will he enter the draft? I think if he leaves, it's probably more likely he enters the draft. Now, if he does that, that could coincide with a very big name that is rumored to be entering the transfer portal sometime in the very near future. That is one Florida running back, Trevor Etienne. If Shipley
I thought you were going to say that. I thought you were going to say that.
To go pro, and Trevor Etienne enters the transfer portal, does Clemson make a run at him? Maybe it's a fantasy for me to sit here and think about, but to me, no brainer. Go get him.
I think it'd be a perfect homecoming. I think it would.
I do too. Yeah. Didn't we offer him in the beginning?
We were in his final three on the day he committed.
I was about to say,
between us, Florida, and I forget who the third school was, but we were in his final three.
Yeah, why not come to the school that your brother was a star?
Right.
And
would it not be the perfect full circle moment?
Yeah, I think it would. I mean, yeah, just come here and dominate, because you're going to have the offensive line, hopefully. And, now that we got the offensive line coach, and, Quarterback's getting better and everything. So it's the perfect homecoming, like you said.
Well, hey, one can dream, right? So we'll see what the transfer portal holds in store, both for players departing, additional players departing, and who Clemson may target in the transfer portal. It's going to be an interesting the next month or so. I think it's going to be very interesting indeed. Now, as we wrap it up tonight, we've got to talk about bowling season. But first, speaking of bowls, we invite you to go check out our fine sponsor, Ardens Burger and Grill, and get a big bowl of your favorite game day food. Anything from their famous double-dipped wings, mouth-watering burgers, sizzling grills, or even their absolutely delicious Asian food. They've got anything to cover your game day culinary needs. You can go visit them at 1280 18 Mile Road in Central South Carolina. You can tell them the crew from Around the Paw sent you there. You will not be disappointed. We guarantee it. Now, speaking of bowls, we know where the Tigers are going, we know who they're playing, and we know when it's going to be. Chomp, chomp. Let's go play in the Gator Bowl, fellas, against the Kentucky Wildcats. SEC opponent, so you know that it just means more.
It also means more because I believe Kentucky was the first team Dabo Swinney played when he was head coach. I believe that's true. I think 2009 was the last time these teams met, and that was Dabo Swinney's first game. So it's a nice.
Was that the Music City Bowl?
Yes.
Yeah. I think I was about to say.
Yeah. So it's just a nice homecoming. It's like a nice trip down memory lane, seeing what Dabo did last time he played Kentucky, and now here he is, 2 national championships later. And but yeah, there are a couple storylines. Devin Leary, obviously the Kentucky quarterback, he played for NC State last season and the season before when Clemson split the series 1-1 against the NC State Wolfpack. So it's got a little bit. I mean, we're still a little bit far away in terms of who's leading via the transfer portal, who's going to hold out for the draft. But there are a couple pieces. Obviously, you'll stick around here around the paw. We'll be telling you our weekly updates of what we know at least. So, but it should be a fun game for sure. And obviously, it's in Florida. We weren't big on the whole West Coast Holiday Bowl San Diego thing. So you'll see a couple of us in Florida for sure for this game. It should be a fun one, and it's in Jacksonville. So I think the Jaguars play like the day after, which Trevor Lawrence, nice little homecoming too.
I was about to say it's going to be a fun game, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not too wild about playing Kentucky, but
it is what it is.
Because it is what it is. But
I do think it's a favorable matchup for us. I honestly, I'll even throw this out 3.5 weeks in advance. I don't think Kentucky's offense is conducive to moving the ball against the Clemson defense. Just throwing it out there.
I don't think so. I don't think so either.
They're big. They're a big rush heavy team, so it could spell trouble for Kentucky. It might not, but obviously, we'll see what happens and who leaves.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, and like you said, the Jaguars play on Sunday, so I definitely want to go see them play. Which it would kind of be cool to get some press passes and go cover a game with former Clemson players and write a story about it. I think that'd be kind of cool.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And it syncs up very well. But so that game is going to be at 12 noon. I think that's the biggest drawback is that it is a 12 noon start time at Everbank Stadium. That's actually on, I believe it's Friday. It's December 29th. And I believe that's on a Friday.
It's on Friday, yep.
Yeah.
It's Friday. So tell me this, y'all. I've just got something that I just heard some stuff on the radio. So what if we would have gone to the Holiday Bowl and it would have been USC? You got the Raleigh. There's some storylines, right, that could have happened if FSU would have been put in the playoff. Okay, this is a storyline. Hold up. This is a storyline for Clemson, right? You got the Raleigh brothers who would be playing each other. Like, think of that storyline.
That'd be a fun one.
That would be a fun one to write. And Dabo Swinney and Raleigh, right? So that would just been a fun. There would have been a bunch of fun storylines in playing USC out in California. Even though I didn't want to go to Carolina or out to California, I'm glad it's in Jacksonville. But it just would have been a fun matchup.
Yeah, it would have been. But look, quite frankly, you talk about favorable matchups. Look, frankly, USC's defense could not stop a cold in the Sahara Desert.
No Caleb Williams either.
Clemson might have had their best
Yeah.
offensive game of the year.
Yeah, no Caleb Williams, like you were saying. So we would have definitely beat them. But
At this
you know.
point, Louisville's perfect for them. Perfect for them.
Yeah.
All right, well, all right, guys. I've got to throw this into the show tonight while we get ready to wrap this up, because I have a craving thirst to know your opinion on it. The final college football rankings came out yesterday. And shall we say there has been a lot of talk about the 4 teams the committee selected. Now, I think we can all sit here and agree that 3 of them were right. Michigan, Washington, Texas. I think we can all agree that in some form, fashion, those 3 deserve to be there. But our ACC brethren, like them, love them, or hate them, the Florida State Seminoles, 13-0, ACC champions, they get left out. The first time in the history of the college football playoff that an undefeated Power 5 conference champion gets left out of the playoffs. And for what? They're playing their third-string quarterback because of an injury that's beyond their control. I just got to get your thoughts on it. What do you think?
It's funny because before this podcast earlier today in class, I went on a 30-minute argument with one of my friends in my classes about this, and it sucks. If you're Florida State, this is absolutely awful. If you're the committee, I don't think you made the right choice, but at the same time, you kind of did. If you wanted the best 4 teams in college football, you got them. It sucks though because honestly, I think I put on my Twitter, the ideal 4 teams were the 4 that were in now instead of Bama for Texas, but I said the committee was going to put Bama instead of Florida State. It sucks. I don't think it should have happened, but I think the committee realized that their loss of quarterback of Jordan Travis and obviously Tate Rodemaker in the ACC championship game, you didn't really have much wiggle room. And yes, the Florida State defense has gotten better, and it was elite towards the end of the season, but to be honest, I didn't see them putting up a fight against either Michigan or Washington. I think Alabama had a better chance, and, they can give the argument that they took down the top team in college football in Georgia. So that's all I can say. You can go both ways, but it is absolutely awful if you're Florida State, and I'm so sorry. It could have went either way, though, and I wouldn't have been upset. As long as Texas was winning instead of Alabama, I was completely okay.
Yeah, it does. It sucks. I feel bad for Jordan Travis. I feel bad for, the whole Florida State team, even though I don't like Florida State, but they deserve to be there because they won all their games. And I was watching the show.
And hasn't that always been the criteria?
Well, I was looking at Twitter and somebody posted the criteria. The first one was conference champions. And then the second one, there was 2 more in between this one. The fourth one was take into account injuries. That was the 4th criteria on this. And this came straight from their website. And so, yes, they won their conference championship. And they might have met the other 2. But that 4th one, the committee took that 4th one and overrode the top 3. And I agree with Griffin. I don't think they would have beat any of the top 3, even though they deserve to be there. I think Alabama would put up a better fight, but I don't like it because you're telling all those other 80-something players or whatever that their efforts meant nothing. Only Jordan Travis's injury is what matters.
All right, guys. Good points. Now, I'm going to play devil's advocate. I'm going to give you 2 scenarios. One is hypothetical. One is real and has happened before and has established precedent. Hypothetical scenario. Can you honestly say if an undefeated SEC champion Alabama team was limping into the conference championship game and squeaked by with a third-string quarterback, would an undefeated SEC champion Alabama playing their third-string quarterback be left out? Absolutely not. The narrative would be, well, he's the best third-string quarterback in the country, and he would start at 95% of the schools. Let's roll.
It depends who you play, though. It depends who you play. If that team was against Georgia, Alabama deserved to be in. If it's against, I don't really maybe LSU. I think that could be another one too. But I really haven't been a fan of Louisville all year, and they're coming off a loss too. They have looked shaky at times. I'm trying. I mean, I think it's wrong what the committee did. I'm just trying to think what they were thinking in their head. But regardless,
go ahead.
Regardless, it's just a bad decision.
I think if their third string quarterback would have put up 40 points and they would have beat Louisville by like 42-3 or 45-3, then Florida State would be in the playoff.
Yeah, they were a wildcat.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't score more than 20 points, then Alabama's going to blow you out of the water. Every other team in the playoffs is going to blow you out of the water.
And you know what? May very well be the case, but I said I was going to give you a hypothetical scenario. That was my hypothetical. Now I'm going to give you a scenario that actually happened. Everybody, well, Griffin, you might have been, I think you might have been 10 or 11 years old when this happened. So I don't know how well you would remember it, but again, I'm showing my age, but the very first year of the college football playoff, 2014, the Ohio State Buckeyes were undefeated, won the conference championship. They were down their starting quarterback, their backup quarterback, and they entered the college football playoff on their third string quarterback in the same situation that Florida State's in now. That third string quarterback was Cardale Jones. He proceeded to utterly eviscerate Alabama in the semifinals. And then he went on to slice and dice Oregon even worse in the national championship game. Ohio State won the national championship with their third string quarterback. They were given the benefit of the doubt, and in the same situation, under the same set of circumstances, Florida State was not. Precedent was set in 2014, and if the committee had 1 ounce of integrity, they would have followed their own precedent. But alas, they didn't.
So,
here I am. I feel dirty sitting here taking up for Florida State, but it is what it is.
So go ahead.
I will say though, Florida State did not do what they had to do. They did not blow out their opponent. Ohio State won 59-0. Their quarterback threw for 3 touchdowns. That's the only.
Yeah, that was my next question.
If Florida State won that game, by 3 or 4 scores, by all means. But their offense just did not look good. It didn't. It looked like nobody. It looked like nobody was home. And
I mean, terrible.
It's just a bad situation, no matter what. It's just a bad situation.
No win. I mean, it was a no-win situation when it boils down.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
And I've heard several situations. Like, I think that Florida State was put out of the playoff when they lost to Florida. I kind of think they were. I don't know. I mean, just because. I mean, I don't know. I could be wrong in saying that. I've heard so many things. I don't know what to believe.
Florida State, they beat Florida. They beat Florida, obviously.
Yeah, they did. But they
in the swamp
24-15. You know, if they had their backup quarterback in.
Florida.
Florida.
What did he do? He didn't even throw. Oh yeah, Florida did have their backup quarterback in, but the Florida State quarterback, the running back Trey Benson did all the work. I mean, you got to credit Tate Rodemaker and what he did in that game, but it seemed like all the finishing touches were on the running back. And I don't know if the committee looked into that. I don't know if they only looked at the box score and saw the way that he played. But I think Florida State just needed to have a big game, and they knew that too. They knew they needed to win that game because they played after Alabama, who just beat the top team in the country. That's all. They knew what they had to do, and they couldn't do it. Yeah, and then they had to roll the dice. Yeah. And sadly, it didn't roll their way, which I disagree with. But at the same time, I feel like Michigan, Alabama is going to be a very good game.
Yeah. So I just want to throw something out there before we end the show. You know what Florida State should have done is they should have hired a quarterback. No, I just want to give this company a shout out. I'm trying to get them as a sponsor, and I'm trying to give them a little love. So they're called the Hiring Group. They hire technical on the technical end of it and so I just want to kind of give them a little love. But that's what Florida State should have done. They should have gone out and hired them another quarterback.
Well, that is the pervasive
trend really
in college football nowadays.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a bag man.
Yeah, they're 2 quarterbacks now. Will not start for them next year. They're going to go out and get somebody in the transfer portal.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I don't have any doubt about that. Also don't have any doubt about it. It has been a great start to December and to the holiday season for the Clemson Tigers. And we hope it's been the same for everybody watching and your families, no matter where you are, who you pull for. We appreciate you tuning in and watching us here at Around the Paul. That's going to do it for us for this episode. Again, we thank everybody. We thank Ardens Burger and Grill for being a fine sponsor. And like we always say, you know, good luck, God bless, and go Tigers. It is always a great day to be a Clemson Tiger. So until next time, I'm Garrett Mitchell for Griffin and Clifton. Keep it orange side up. Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.